Animals are also stressed. Animals also secrete stress hormone just as we do as humans. Animals sometimes feel depressed as well. So these are the major component when it comes to animal welfare. So it's not just about the physical condition, but it's also about their mental well-being, how they live, where they live, the environment they are staying, is it conducive for them? Also, how they die. There's what we call inhumane killing of animals, inhumane slaughter of animals. So there's a way animals should be slaughtered, and all this encompasses what we call animal welfare.
Okay, I like that you said that. So just last week, Customs reported that a container 40 feet long was seized, and that container contained parts of donkeys. And it begs the question, why should the average Nigerian care? Why should I bother that somebody's, carrying donkey out of where it's supposed to be? Why should we care about trafficking of animals as the average Nigerian, especially linking it to public health? Does it affect our health? Or is it just about losing wildlife?
Okay, so firstly, when it comes to animal trafficking, especially in the wildlife, it's not just about animal cruelty. It also boils down to our relation with animals too.
Okay.
Like I said, if the One Health concept has this interconnectedness between the human health, the animal health, and the environmental health. And if these three sectors are not optimal, there's going to be defect in each of the sectors. So for example, if the animal health sector is sick, if the animal health sector is not given attention, it's going to bounce back on humans. For example, if we neglect animal health, you eat meat, you eat fish, you eat, you eat eggs, it's going to bounce back on us if those particular products are not properly cooked or properly processed. Even milk, a cow that is not healthy cannot produce better milk. So these things will definitely affect us. And again, people that traffic wild animals, there is also what we call zoonotic diseases, right?
Yeah.
And these zoonotic diseases, these are diseases that can be transmitted from animals to humans. And then these people that come in contact with this wildlife, they have the capacity of contracting these diseases. And most of them they are unaware of the risk and the danger of zoonotic diseases, and they just play with this wildlife and just trade it, and they come in contact with family members when they go back home, with their friends, and this is how diseases begin to spread. And again, it also affects food security, because when you disrupt the ecosystem, it will definitely affect the next stage, and so on.
Very interesting.
Okay, so you've mentioned that this affects us as well, and that's the reason why we should actually look into the healthcare of these animals. It's not everybody that knows that this affects us in the way. The way you explained it now, it's not everybody that understands it that way. So now, how do you use your particular office to actually fight or promote this healthcare for animals, to bring the awareness to people who do not know?
Okay, so over time, there've been a huge influx of human health advocates. A lot of people you see online talk about human health, HIV and AIDS, but we have few people that talk about animal health. And one of the importance of talking about animal health in relation to human health is 75% of zoonotic diseases that affect human beings come from animal origin. So WHO even said that 6 out of 10 infectious diseases are zoonotic. They come from animal origin. So you can see the higher number. So what I do on my platform is to make sure that the layman gets to understand the basics of animal health, of animal welfare. There's no point using the grammar that veterinarians will understand, because I'm not really talking to veterinarians. I'm talking to the average man, the layman, so they can understand. So it borders around there are a lot of misinformation about animal health. I was watching a video, and there's this pig farmer. He was saying that, if you have a pig farm, this and these are the things you should do. He was give this drug, and he's not a professional. He's not a veterinary doctor. So he's just giving his advice based on his experience. But sometimes experience will change. Sometimes experience differ with different people with different location. So these are the things that I stand to tackle, and also to make people understand that animal health is crucial to human health.
Okay, thank you very much. Speaking as a veterinarian in Nigeria, I'm sure that even beyond Nigeria, what would you say about the legislative process? Do we have policies, our policymakers doing enough in terms of protecting these animals? Or do you think there's still a gap that needs to be filled, and not just in Nigeria, but beyond Nigeria?
Well, we cannot say that we are satisfied.
Okay.
There is more room for improvement. But so far, so good. Nigeria, we are trying, right? We are trying. There is currently a goal of eradicating rabies by the year 2030. And there's also what we have the Animal Disease Control Act as well of 2004. This outlines a lot of instructions about how to take care of animals, how to prevent diseases, and the penalties that are involved if, as a layman, you are involved in some of these things. And then there is also this, I think the policymakers have also tried their best. There's a National Wildlife Special Office that was initiated in 2022, and they've been doing their best to inform people about the dangers of wildlife. And also there's a wildlife office in the Nigerian custom that have, like you said, they intersected over 10,000 of donkey penises, and you can imagine the extent to which people go.
Some of them don't even know that that's trafficking.
Well,
that's the thing.
The thing is, we cannot excuse some of these things. What is wrong is wrong, whether you are aware or not.
Or not aware.
And the thing is,
some people just think it's just meat.
It's just meat. I saw somewhere and they said alligator sausage. Yeah, they were selling alligator sausage, and I'm like, are people aware of the zoonotic and the public health impact that this imposes to humans? So some people do this out of business. They want to just get the money. They don't care about health, But then the policymakers are trying, but there's more room for improvement.
I totally agree. There's more room for improvement. But what would you suggest?
Well, for me, I would suggest that we should have more stringent and more serious penalties for people who are found with illegal trade of wildlife. Because if there are no penalties for these people, it encourages them to continue trading wildlife. And the thing is, when there's no example, people just feel we just talk and talk and talk, right? Yeah. But then when the government decides to provide serious penalties to some of these people, and then Nigerians understand that, okay, so this is actually serious, then I think from there we can begin to move forward.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. So, okay, you were speaking about policies being laid and all of that. It's a good idea, very, very good idea, sir. Must commend. But, leaving the government agencies, we find out that, like she said, most of these people do not even know that they are trafficking animals. And now people get into eating different animals, even the animals that are supposed to be standing as a protection shield and all of that. They get to eat those animals. You hear people eating things, in fact, despicable animals, meat. You can hear somebody eating vulture. The other day I was asking somebody asking me if I eat vulture, if I've eaten vulture. Imagine a human being eating vulture. Now, in those cases, how do you think that we as Nigerians, let's leave the government. Yes, the government will put policies. It's for another thing for us to follow those policies. How can you bring it down to us that we understand beyond policies being placed, beyond restrictions being placed, that these animals are to be cared for? These are the ones to be eaten. These ones are not to be eaten. They have their use. How do we? Okay,
so was it about a few weeks ago, there's this woman that sells chicken laps, right? And so people felt, oh, this thing is big, so let's patronize. So they've been patronizing her, and then it was later revealed that those were not chicken. That was vulture.
Wow.
And then, so like I said, a lot of people do this because
just business.
Let's just make the money, and then they do not put into consideration people's health. What can we do as Nigerians? We must understand that our health, one thing with diseases, it doesn't, even if it affects you, it will not only implicate you, it will implicate other persons.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Ebola virus, I think was it 2013 or 2014. It just started with one person, and from that one person, it spread across the country. Same thing with with coronavirus. It just started with one person. So one thing that I worked at the abattoir at some point, and even with cattle, even with the domesticated animals that we eat, there can be issues coming from them. Like now, if a cattle has tuberculosis and we do not properly boil the meat, we can also have tuberculosis. Likewise, from the milk, if the milk is not healthy, we can come down with certain diseases as well. So if the domestic animals that we eat can have issues, talk more of the wildlife that we do not see always, that we do not even observe always. So Nigerians should always look out for, let's eat the meat that are domesticated. There is no fun, there is no adventure in trying to consume wildlife. Some people see it as flex, bushmeat. I can bet you over 60-70% of Nigerians at some point have tasted bushmeat, whether you are aware or unaware. So these are the things that we can do. But for Nigerians, proper animal care is important. If you have animals, if you have a livestock farm, if you have a pet, take care of them. And like we said in the definition of animal welfare, we spoke about the physical condition, the mental condition, the living condition. Because if you jam pack chicken in a very small space and the place is littered, the place is wet, this can give room for avian influenza. And avian influenza is another zoonotic threat and something that affects animals. So you can imagine that if you do not take care of your animals, you are going to lose financially, because when they die or when they fall sick, you are going to spend money. So these are the things that Nigerians can do. Responsible animal ownership and responsible animal care will take us a long way. And again, we also need to advocate for this change. We also need to tell people, we also need to sound the alarm. It's never enough to tell people that, see, this is the right thing to do. It's never enough. We should keep saying it. Even if everything becomes right, we still need to keep saying it so that people get to have it at the back of their mind that, okay, this is the right thing to do.
Okay. Speaking about advocacy, I'm very curious about, I know she spoke about, ask you about how you use your platform. Yeah. But I'm worried. In the rural areas, hard to reach areas, how do you reach out to them to let them know that? Because I think those are the people who really practice this more. Yeah. So is there any means of reaching out to them? Because most of them are not on social media. If we say we are doing social media campaigns, many of them will see it. Yeah. So is there any means of reaching out to them to let them know that, oh, this is right, this is wrong?
Well, there are NGOs, there are wild aid NGOs that have been reaching out to some of these rural areas. And then there are also professionals that are doing it from their own personal conviction to be able to reach out to these people. And I think one thing that government can do is to see how every local government has a veterinary officer that is able to oversee and enlighten some of these people. And the basic thing, some of these particular diseases come from the rural areas. Yeah. And then if you look at the cities as well, there is an increased level of deforestation. So with deforestation, we are coming closer to the wildlife, or the wildlife rather is coming closer to us, and it's a dangerous thing. So there have been organizations that have been doing the advocacy, but then, like I said, it's never enough. Now, even in the rural areas, a lot of people have smartphones now. A lot of people are even on social media, and Facebook and all, But then we also need to channel our efforts into the rural areas. I also remember some years ago, even last year, when we usually celebrate World Rabies Day, we go to rural areas to vaccinate their dogs because, of course, they don't have access to this basic animal care material. So we go there to vaccinate their dog and encourage them on the importance of vaccination and the dangers that rabies spread. So yeah, we do that as well, but then we need to put in more effort.
We actually need, when you spoke about rabies, I just imagine the number of people who die every time there is a dog bite and the dog was not treated. Yeah. So I'm right now concerned about those people who have those dogs. Access to rabies. Some of them don't even know what that is. Some complain that it's very expensive. So it's caused another issue.
Well, having before I said this, 59,000 persons die of rabies every year.
See.
And a bulk of that number comes from Africa and Asia. I say this always, that having a pet, if you have a pet, having a pet is expensive. If you don't have money, you don't have any business having a pet. And so you need to count the cost.
I think you need to emphasize that.
Yeah, so you need to count the cost if you want to have a pet. Can I provide for their health care? Will I be able to buy food for them? Will I be able to vaccinate them? Will I be able to be there for them emotionally? You know, we talked about animal welfare and the emotional aspect. Or will I also have the patience to see that this particular pet grows up, and then I teach this particular pet what to do and what not to do? So having a pet is expensive, physically, financially, even in our own emotions, because you need to also bond with your pet. It can be expensive, but then it's not compulsory to have a pet, right? But then if you want to have a pet, then you must consider some of these criteria.
Now I'm very concerned about the fact that if you go on the street, you just see many
Stray
local
dogs.
dogs all over the place.
Yeah.
And they are not treated. I can bet that most of they don't even, because when you see the owners, you just know that these ones don't even know anything about rabies. All they care is they use their dogs to hunt. They use their dogs as a means of protection. So you've raised a very salient point about if you do not have money, you have no business having pets around. I don't know. Many Nigerians will want to argue with you.
Yeah, you can argue that, but then
but that's the fact.
If you take your pet to a clinic, you will not. You have to pay.
Yes.
You know, and then if you go to a pet store to get food, you have to pay. So if you cannot sacrifice your money, there's no point of you having.
So it's not something that an average Nigerian can deal with.
It depends again. If you can,
say minimum wage earner.
a minimum wage earner. So let's say 70K, right? Why not? You can. Now rabies, in some places you can get vaccinations for 7,000, some places 10,000. It depends, right? But then it's just for 1 year. So you just like spending that amount for 1 year to get your pets vaccinated against rabies, and then until the following year. So if you are not a lavish spender, I think you can actually own a pet and then take care of the pets.
Yeah, I think it's good that we brought that into perspective so people understand that, okay, it's not like 1 million naira for the vaccination.
We're even talking about the ones that have owners. What of the ones that don't have owners and they are roaming the
stray dogs?
Because those ones can actually also be harmful to the ones that have owners when they come in contact. And the whole thing we're saying is just like trying to put something into work and it's not working.
You know, some countries have animal shelters. So this
do we have any in Nigeria?
Yeah, we do.
Functional?
We do. So these animal shelters get stray dogs, stray cats out of the streets, provide for them, and then once you feel like adopting one, you go to the animal shelter and then you adopt. In Nigeria, we have some, but we need more. We need more resources to be able to establish that. We have a lot of stray dogs, and these stray dogs account for most of the cases for rabies. You know, last year we went to Pape. There's this close to the dam there to vaccinate dogs, and these are hunter dogs, very, very tall local breeds. We went there, we vaccinated them, and we told them, okay, don't worry, next year we're going to still come again to vaccinate. You know, so we need these animal shelters. We need the government to be able to do that for us, and then we also need veterinarians and other animal health lovers to be able to look into this matter. You know, I tell people that when you see a stray dog, rather than throwing stones, you know, as Nigerians we like to taunt stray dogs and all, but rather than throwing stones, if you can't help them, just let them be. Just walk away. If you cannot help them, just walk away. But if you can help them, why not? You can adopt, see how they can get the basic medical attention, and then you are good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we are wrapping up, I'd like you to just speak to every Nigerian. What is that one thing you wish that they know about animal welfare? It could be more than one. Because you're pondering.
If there's one thing I can say is animal health directly or indirectly affects human health, whether we like it or not. You may not have a pet, you may not have a livestock farm, but you eat meat. You know, there's even a current issue about antimicrobial resistance.
Okay.
You know, where people get to, you know, you see humans go to the hospital and they are telling them you are resistant to these antibiotics, and then they are telling the doctors, I've never abused antibiotics, you know. But then this is the problem. We have a lot of poultry farmers, a lot of people who pump antibiotics into this chicken, into this poultry, into these birds, either for them to be bigger so that they can have, again, it's about business. And then the thing is, it can have a residual effect on us because the residue of that antibiotics can be found in the egg. And then when we boil egg, we eat over time, we would not know that we are currently generating resistance to certain antibiotics that have been abused when it comes to those chicken and those poultry. So we should understand that animal health would directly or indirectly affect us as human beings.
Okay. Yeah. When you spoke about chicken, I just remembered people who rear cows. And some people make case for the fact that when getting the raw milk from cow is very healthy. I've always said I don't think it is, but you're a vet and you should know better.
So the thing is,
as it comes, just raw.
So the thing is, we need that something that we are used to something doesn't mean it's right.
Okay.
What have you used to gauge the health of that particular cow? There's this disease that cows have, mastitis, where the udder is swollen. It can even bring out pus, can even bring out blood. Just imagine some of those things contaminating the milk. I used to drink fura before, but when I got to understand that it can actually have a zoonotic threat, I stopped. Right, so even if you are going to get from the cow, make sure you boil it very well and then you allow it to cool. So it's dicey, right? And then it's also clear that that we are used to it doesn't mean it's right. That is something that's been happening over time doesn't mean it's right. And these are the things that we look to inform the public about, because this is important to the health. Very, very important.
Thank you. Deborah, you want to add anything?
No.
Okay. You've said so much, and I'm guessing that's your parting word. Or any parting words for us before we call it a wrap?
Well, let's keep putting efforts, because animal health is human health.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iben.
Thank you.
You've done justice, and I'm hoping that those watching us from anywhere can now understand that animal health is our business, and we must be very concerned about taking care of them. Wildlife is no longer business as usual, and the stringent measures that has to be taken to ensure that these things are not just companions, they are now all commodities. They're something that is very critical. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We hope when we call you again, you'll do well to grace us.
Anything for animal health.
All right, that's the much we can take on Idea Morning Digest today. Let us know what you think. Do well to share your questions using the hashtag wildlife and us in the comment section. We'll be watching, we'll be reading, and we'll be glad to hear from you. My name is Chinatu Oji, and I've been with Deborah Jacobs, and together we are saying bye for now.